views of my organization. So any attempt for the political arena to soften review or actions against Iran because it is more moderate should be resisted at all costs. Our last speaker, and who will present the film, is Ms. Shadi Sadr, the founder of Justice for Iran. She will talk about women rape in Iranian prisons and will be showing the film on this. In advance, I just want to let you know I may sneak out. I'm on the speakers list for this afternoon and I need to judge exactly where the forum is. So if you will indulge me, I'll sneak in and out and hopefully see you, if I leave, see you again.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers to give me this opportunity to talk about sexual torture of female political prisoners in Iran. First of all, I will have a glance at the results of our research on rape and sexual abuse of women political prisoners in Iran. And then I focused on the crimes that happened in the 80s, 1988s, due to the topic of the discussion today and also the 25th anniversary of the 88 massacre of the political prisoners. And finally, I will talk a bit about why talking and discussing those past crimes matter today. Justice for Iran was established in June 2010 with the aim of addressing the crime and impunity prevalent among Iranians, state officials, and the use of systematic sexual torture and rape as a intimidating female political activists and also the prisoners of conscience. Over the course of 2.5 years, we conducted a comprehensive study on rape and sexual torture of women prisoners of conscience after the establishment of Islamic Republic of Iran in 1979. The results of the research are 2 reports on rape and sexual abuse of female prisoners of conscience, which the first one is about the incidents in the 80s called Crime and Impunity, and I will talk about that in more detail later. Our goal in conducting this research and preparing these reports is to launch a public discourse on this subject, which has haunted many women's lives and has discouraged thousands of others from entering public politics for fear of being raped in the infamous prisons of Iran. Indeed, the issue of rape in prisons has been known throughout Iran, but it never discussed seriously in public due to extreme cultural taboos on this topic. This taboo and prevalent perceptions of shame in Iran has meant that open discussion of rape or torture being perceived to negatively impact not just the victims, but also their wider associates. As such, the state escapes responsibility and accountability for not only letting these atrocities happen, but for its roles in actively promoting sexual torture as a tool for political control. We feel that unless these systematic occurrences of rape atrocities against female political prisoners are documented and presented to the public, nationally and internationally, the culture of sexual violence against women, while the state will continue and worse, encourage others to commit the same crimes without fear of punishment. Crime and Impunity report uncovers the degree to which sexual torture of political prisoners in the 1980s was widespread and systematic. The report is the result of an analysis of publicly published records as well as interviews with more than 150 political prisoners detained during the 1980s. The sexual torture against female political prisoners constitutes as undeniable systematic component of the dark history of human rights violations in Iran during the 80s by a state that claims monopoly of morality, no less particularly in the area of sexuality. This report further indicates that the crimes discussed in detail in the body of this report have continued to go unpunished after more than 3 decades. The report further indicates that female political prisoners experience systematic and extensive instances of sexual torture and harassment, while all prisoners are subject to abuse. Case studies in this report highlight how particular forms of torture were and continue to be systematically inflicted upon women. Based on our finding, over the past 3 decades, some of the various forms of sexual torture, such as rape, forced marriage in prison, striking genitals, forced confessions about sexual relations, offensive language and sexual insults, sex cruelty, cavity search, and post-detention sexual abuse were conducted in a systematic way in Iranian prisons. But the most heinous form of torture we have come across in this research was the rape of virgin girls prior to their execution. I would like to focus on that in this presentation, while you can find more details about the other forms of sexual torture in this briefing report if you are interested. Documents and testimonies offered in our research clearly establish the fact that the raping of virgin girls arrested for political activism prior to their execution took place systematically inside Iranian prisons during the 80s. The rapes, rooted in a twisted misunderstanding of one of Ayatollah Khomeini's orders, were justified under the religion term of sighe. As stated by Ayatollah Montazeri in his memoir, Deputy Ayatollah Montazeri, as the other speakers mentioned, was at that time the deputy leader. And as he said in his memoir, and then he became an opponent of the Islamic regime and Ayatollah Khomeini. He was, in the early 80s, he was able to convince the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khomeini, that girls or women who were on the forefront of the execution lines in those days should not be executed, as there are Islamic interpretations stating that they should be given imprisonment sentences as it prescribed for female apostates. However, the judicial and security official who had no intention of halting the execution of women interpreted the order as a dictate to keep as long as the girls were to lose their virginity prior to their execution. While, as our research demonstrated, this was one reason behind the raping of a large number of female political prisoners prior to their executions, different prison officials of the 1980s tried to find or create so-called Sharia-based justifications for this action. According to the interpretation of the International Criminal Court, such acts can be constructed as crime against humanity. However, due to our inability to extend our research to encompass former judicial and security officials, the scope and spread of the retributive justice against these officials has not yet become clear to us. Yet, one would ask why these past crimes are such important to discuss today. Last month, Mr. Mustafa Mohammadi became the Iran's Minister of Justice. According to the victims and according to the witness statements of many prisoners and their families, it is established that during 1981 to 1986, Mustafa Mohammadi was the revolutionary prosecutor of Khorasan province. Issued and carried out the order for the execution of the first group of young girls who had been arrested in 1981 in the province of Khorasan. According to at least families of 3 of these years, following their execution, a guard calls at each of their homes and claims that prior to their execution, their daughters had entered marriage with them. The witnessed statements of a family member of one of the girls executed indicates that prior to her execution, she had written under her feet that she had been raped. There are also numerous and undeniable evidences published by the most renowned human rights organizations such as Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, which confirms Mustafa was directly involved in the mass execution of political prisoners of 1988 and the extrajudicial assassinations of political opponents living in exile. This is the irony of the Islamic Republic, that those who committed the most heinous crimes not only enjoys absolute impunity, but also have been taking the most high-ranking positions, which are supposedly responsible to investigate such crimes. Demonstrate rape before execution was a systematic action, and which you see in the film more details about that. The fact that it continued for so many years also means it could not have been unknown to higher officials within the government, and thus the entire regime is implicated in this atrocity, not just those committing these crimes. The official that sanctions such cruel treatment of women prisoners should be brought to justice. I would like to conclude my talk with calling the UN human rights bodies to urge authorities of the Islamic Republic of Iran to investigate the rape and sexual torture of women prisoners in Iran, especially the rape of virgin women prior to execution in 80s, and hold the perpetrators accountable. It is an ethical duty of all humanity, and in particular human rights activists, to make an issue of these uncivil developments and unethical practices, in this case carried out in the name of ethic and religion, to prevent them from happening again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and now we will have the film.